My name is Amanda Dawson, 34 years old. Life as a single mom isn't glamorous, but for the last 5 years, it's been me and my daughter Lily against the world. I left her father before she was even born. His cheating during my pregnancy was the final crack in a wall that had already started to crumble. I kicked him out, filed for child support, which he barely pays, and slowly pieced myself back together. When my parents offered for Lily and me to move back home, I said yes, even though a part of me knew it might not be the best idea. Just until you get back on your feet, my mom had promised her smile warm and reassuring. I wanted to believe her. Family, I thought, meant support, safety, belonging. For a while, it worked. I paid rent, contributed to groceries, helped around the house, and my mom agreed to babysit Lily a few days a week so I could work. But that promise didn't last long. Babysitting turned into just letting Lily watch cartoons, and soon even that became too much. Whenever I came home early, I'd find my mom scrolling through her phone, the TV blaring, Lily sitting quietly on the floor with her toys. Still, I told myself not to complain. At least Lily was safe. At least we had a roof over our heads. But that fragile balance shattered the day my sister Mia came back. It was a Wednesday evening. I'd just gotten home from work, exhausted, sweaty, craving a moment of peace. When I opened the door there, she was sitting on the couch like she owned the place. Mia, her long hair perfectly straightened, manicured nails resting on her massive pregnant belly. She barely looked up when I entered. "Hey," she muttered, eyes still on her phone. For a second, I thought I'd stepped into someone else's life. "Mia," I asked, blinking, "what are you doing here?" Before she could answer, my mom appeared from the kitchen, all smiles and warmth. "Oh, sweetheart, Mia's back for good." For good. The words hit like cold water. Mia smirked, finally glancing up. "Ben got a transfer back to the States. This is just easier for us." Her tone carried that familiar edge of entitlement, like I should be grateful she'd deigned to explain. I forced a polite smile. "And where's Ben now?" "Company housing." My mom answered quickly. "But Mia will stay here until the baby comes. You know, so we can help her." Help her? When I was pregnant, Mom hadn't offered help. She hadn't even come to one doctor's appointment. I had to scrape together enough money to hire a nanny so I could keep my job. But now she was fluffing pillows for Mia like she was royalty. I felt the air tighten in my lungs. "There's not much room here," I said, careful to keep my tone neutral. "Oh, we'll make it work," Mia replied sweetly, the corners of her mouth curling. She looked around like she already owned every inch of the house. That night, as I lay awake listening to the muffled hum of the TV downstairs, I remembered how it had always been. Growing up, Mia was the golden child. If she broke something, I was blamed for not watching her. If she picked a fight, I was told to be the bigger person. I used to think adulthood would fix that imbalance, that maybe once we were older, my parents would finally see me for who I was. I was wrong. Over the next few days, Mia settled in like she'd never left. Her things spilled out of the spare room, her shoes lined up neatly by the door, her laughter echoing through the hallway. My mom was constantly in motion, bringing her snacks, asking about the baby, rearranging furniture to make more space. My dad, who usually kept to himself, started spending every evening chatting with her about baby names. Meanwhile, I came home to dirty dishes and cold dinners. When I asked if anyone had eaten, my mom just said, "Oh, we ordered in." You know Mia's cravings. I bit my tongue until it bled. Lily, sweet and perceptive, even at 5, started asking questions I didn't have the heart to answer. "Grandma loves Aunt Mia's baby a lot, huh?" she said one night as I tucked her in. I smiled weakly. "She loves you too, baby." But deep down, I wasn't sure that was true. A week after Mia moved in, I came home late from work. The air inside felt thick, uneasy. My mom and Mia were sitting at the dining table whispering. When I walked in, they went quiet. "What's going on?" I asked. Mia leaned back, her hands resting on her belly. "We were just talking about space," she said. "It's getting a little cramped. The baby will need a nursery soon." I frowned. "And, well," she continued in that falsely innocent tone that always meant trouble, "we thought it makes sense for me to have the guest room." I froze. "You mean my room?" Mia smiled, the kind of smile that dared me to argue. "It's temporary. You could move your stuff to the basement or something." I turned to my mom. "You can't be serious." My mom's face was strained, her voice soft. "Sweetheart, you could make things easier for everyone if you just agreed. Mia needs more space right now." I felt something inside me crack. "You mean she needs my space?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Mia's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "You don't have to make this difficult, Amanda." That night, I sat by Lily's bed long after she'd fallen asleep, staring at the shadows crawling across the wall. I could feel it coming, the same old story. Mia demanding my parents' bending. Me losing. The next morning, I overheard my mom whispering on the phone. Yes, we'll move her things this weekend, she said. It'll be better for everyone. Everyone but me. I stood in the hallway, the words sinking like stones. My heartbeat felt loud in my ears. I wanted to burst into the room and scream, but instead I just stepped quietly back into mine. The scent of Lily's shampoo lingered in the air. Her drawings taped to the wall, a sun, a stick figure family, a crooked little house with a big heart in the middle. For the first time, that heart felt like a lie. Mia's laughter drifted from downstairs, bright and hollow, and I knew this wasn't going to end quietly. I woke up the next morning to the sound of drawers opening and closing. At first, I thought Lily was playing, but when I stepped into the hallway, I froze. My mom and Mia were in my room packing my things into boxes. What are you doing? My voice cracked. Mia didn't even flinch. Relax, Amanda. We're just organizing. You have too much stuff for such a small space. This is my space, I snapped. You don't get to touch my things. My mom sighed, exasperated, as if I were the unreasonable one. Sweetheart, we talked about this. The baby will need a nursery soon. You can move your things to the basement. It's only temporary. I looked at her, disbelief clawing at my chest. Temporary, I repeated the word bitter on my tongue, like when you said I could stay here until I got back on my feet. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Mia said, folding her arms. You know Mom and Dad are just trying to help me. You've already had your turn. My turn, I echoed, stunned. You mean my turn struggling alone while you got everything handed to you? Mia smirked, unfazed. You always play the martyr, Amanda. It's exhausting. I clenched my fists so tight my nails dug into my palms. You're unbelievable. Enough, my mom snapped. You two are sisters. Stop fighting. Then tell her to stop stealing my life, I said quietly. No one responded. That night, the tension was suffocating. My dad came home and barely looked at me. Mia lounged on the couch, her swollen belly resting like a throne in front of her, scrolling on her phone while my mom brought her tea. Lily sat beside me at the dinner table, picking at her food in silence. After dinner, I went upstairs, half expecting my room to be stripped bare, and it nearly was. Boxes lined the walls. My dresser was gone. My clothes were folded on the floor. I sat on the edge of the bed, trembling. I'd thought I'd grown numb to their favoritism, but this was something else. The next few days blurred into tense silence. My parents avoided eye contact. Mia acted like I didn't exist. Every creak of the floorboard, every muffled laugh from downstairs made my chest tighten. And then it happened. I came home from work one evening, holding Lily's hand, both of us tired, but relieved to be done with the day. As we turned the corner to the house, I stopped dead in my tracks. Our things, our suitcases, boxes, Lily's stuffed animals were piled neatly on the porch. Lily's voice was small. Mommy, why is our stuff outside? My throat went dry. Stay here, baby, I whispered. I dropped my bag and pushed open the door. Inside, the air was too still, too normal. The TV murmured softly. My dad sat in his armchair watching a game. My mom was drying dishes. Mia lounged on the couch, smiling faintly when she saw me. What is this? I demanded, my voice shaking. Why is my stuff outside? Mia barely looked up. We needed the space. My mom turned, avoiding my eyes. Sweetheart, you knew this arrangement wasn't permanent. Mia's pregnant and she needs peace. You'll find somewhere, I'm sure. I could hardly breathe. You're kicking me out. I pay rent. I help with groceries. You think it's okay to just throw me and Lily out like garbage. My dad finally looked up, his expression blank. It's for the best. You'll figure it out. My vision blurred. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. You've got to be kidding me. Mia smirked, folding her hands behind her head. Don't be dramatic, Amanda. You've always landed on your feet. Something inside me went still colder than anger, deeper than shock. I stared at the three of them, the people who were supposed to love me most, and realized I didn't recognize them anymore. I went back outside, kneeling beside Lily, who clutched her stuffed bunny tears welling in her big brown eyes. It's okay, baby, I whispered, even though I could barely get the words out. We'll find somewhere better. She nodded, trusting me completely. That trust was the only thing keeping me standing. We spent the night in a cheap roadside motel. The wallpaper peeled, the air conditioner rattled, and the smell of old cigarettes hung in the air. Lily fell asleep with her head on my lap, her bunny clutched tightly in her arms. I stared at the ceiling, feeling anger, humiliation, and heartbreak twist together until they became something sharper resolve. They thought they could throw me away and keep everything I'd built for them, but they were wrong. At midnight, I picked up my phone and made a call I should have made years ago. Hello, I said, my voice steady for the first time that day. I'm calling about the Dawson mortgage account. I'm a co-signer, and I'm officially withdrawing my payments effective immediately. The woman on the line hesitated. Ma'am, you understand that could result in foreclosure. I understand, I said. The house isn't mine anyway. When I hung up, I stared at the dark window. My reflection looked different, tired but unbroken. For the first time in years, I felt free. The morning after that call, I woke to the sound of Lily whispering beside me. Mommy, she said, tugging at my sleeve. Do we have a home now? I swallowed hard and brushed a strand of hair from her face. Not yet, sweetheart, I whispered. But we will, I promise. Promises are strange things. I'd made so many to other people all my life. My parents, Mia, even Lily's father, and most of them had been broken. This one, though, I intended to keep. The motel's thin curtains let in a dull, gray light, and the hum of traffic outside filled the silence. I looked around the tiny room and made a vow to myself I will never let them control me again. By noon, I was sitting in a lawyer's office explaining everything. The rent, the eviction, the fact that I'd co-signed the mortgage on the house my parents had just thrown me out of. The lawyer, a calm woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. They can't legally evict you without proper notice, she said. Technically, since you paid rent, you're a tenant. You could pursue damages. I nodded slowly. I don't want money. I just want to be done with them. The lawyer studied me for a moment, then said quietly, Then you already know what you need to do. I walked out feeling lighter. The autumn air hit my face cool and fresh, carrying a faint smell of rain. For the first time in months, I wasn't suffocating. Over the next few days, I searched tirelessly for a new place. I scrolled through listings at midnight, visited apartments during lunch breaks, even checked local notice boards. Everything decent was either too expensive or already taken. But then one afternoon, I found a tiny one-bedroom apartment above a bakery. It wasn't much, but it had sunlight, clean floors, and enough space for Lily's laughter. When we moved in, Lily ran from room to room, her small footsteps echoing off the walls. Mommy, can I put my stars here? She asked, holding up a packet of glow-in-the-dark stickers. Anywhere you want, I said. That night, I lay in bed listening to the soft sound of her breathing. For the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully. Then the phone calls began. At first, they came from my mother. I didn't answer the first few, but she was relentless. On the fifth call, I finally picked up. Amanda, she said immediately, her tone sharp. How could you do this to us? Do you have any idea what kind of stress you've caused your father and Mia? She's pregnant, for God's sake. I let out a short, humorless laugh. You mean the kind of stress you caused when you threw me and your granddaughter out? We didn't throw you out, she said defensively. We just needed space. You were going to leave eventually anyway. Sure, I said flatly. Whatever helps you sleep at night. She huffed. Your father's pension doesn't cover everything, Amanda. We're behind on bills. The bank is calling. You can't just abandon your family like this. I can, I said quietly. And I have. Her voice trembled. Please think about Mia. The baby's due soon. We can't lose the house. I paused, my jaw tightening. Then maybe she should have thought about that before she packed my daughter's things into boxes. The silence that followed was heavy. I could almost hear her blinking back tears, but I felt nothing. No pity, no guilt, no sympathy. Just calm. Over the next week, the calls kept coming. My father left a voicemail that started with a sigh. You're being selfish, he said. This is still your family. Family takes care of each other. I deleted it without listening to the rest. Then came Mia. Her first message was almost funny in its arrogance. Thanks for making my pregnancy even harder, she wrote. You always find a way to make everything about you. Hope you're proud. I ignored it. The next day, what kind of example are you setting for Lily? Teaching her to abandon family when times get tough. Real classy. I still didn't respond. A week later, a friend sent me a screenshot from Mia's social media, a post with a photo of her hand on her belly captioned, Some people are just heartless even when you need them the most. I stared at it for a long time before setting my phone down. Let her play the victim. I wasn't going to feed her story anymore. That evening, as Lily colored quietly at the table, she looked up and asked, Mommy, are we going to visit Grandma soon? I froze for a second, then knelt beside her. Not for a while, sweetheart. Grandma and Grandpa need some time to think about how they treated us. She nodded solemnly. Did they do something bad? I brushed her hair back gently. They forgot how to be kind, I said. But people who forget can learn again. Just not right now. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I stood by the window, watching the city lights. For years, I'd carried the weight of being the good daughter, the one who forgave, who fixed things, who made peace, no matter how unfair it was. But peace built on silence isn't peace, it's surrender. Now I was done surrendering. The phone buzzed again, another call from my mother. I didn't answer. Instead, I turned the phone off and walked over to Lily's room. She'd fallen asleep with a crayon in her hand, a half-finished drawing beside her bed. It was a picture of our new apartment, tiny, colorful, filled with stars. I smiled. For the first time in my life, the walls around me didn't belong to anyone else. They were mine. It took only 3 weeks for the fallout to begin. The first sign was a frantic voicemail from my mother. Her voice was high-pitched and trembling. Amanda. They sent a notice, the bank there threatening foreclosure. You have to fix this. You can't just walk away from your obligations. My obligations. The phrase made me laugh out loud. I deleted the message. 2 days later, my father called. His voice was calm at first, too calm. Look, he began, I know you're upset, but you don't want to see us homeless, do you? Think about Lily. What would she think if she saw her mother turning her back on family? I closed my eyes, letting the weight of his words settle, then said quietly, maybe she'd learn that love doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. He hung up without replying. That same evening, a mutual friend sent me screenshots of Mia's newest posts. Some people will watch you drown, just to prove they can swim one reed. Another said, family should be unconditional unless your sister decides she's too good for you. Underneath were dozens of comments offering sympathy. You don't deserve this. Pregnant and stressed. That's awful. What kind of sister does that? I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The people who mattered knew the truth. But behind Mia's carefully curated posts, her life was collapsing faster than she could type. A month later, I heard through a friend that Mia's husband Ben had stopped coming home. He was tired of her tantrums, tired of footing bills. She refused to acknowledge, tired of being the villain in every story she told. When their baby arrived, he was already gone. Mia tried to save face online, posting tearful selfies with captions like, single mom, life isn't easy, but my baby is my strength. But the glossy filters couldn't hide what was really happening. Her parents were broke, her husband was gone, and the house she'd once called her home was slipping through their fingers. Meanwhile, I was finally breathing freely. Lily and I fell into a quiet rhythm. Mornings smelled like coffee and toasted bread from the bakery below. We painted the walls a soft cream and strung up fairy lights above her bed. Each night, as the city hummed outside, she'd point to her glowing stars and whisper, it feels like magic here. Still, every time my phone buzzed, I felt a flicker of tension like a ghost tugging at my peace. One Sunday afternoon, the ghost became a storm. I was folding laundry when my mother's name flashed on the screen again. Against my better judgment, I answered. She was sobbing. Amanda, please. They're taking the house. The papers are final. We have nowhere to go. I sat in silence for a moment. Then calmly I asked, what do you expect me to do? You can call the bank, can't you? Reinstate the payments. You can afford it. Amanda, I know you can. That's not my problem anymore, I said. You don't understand, she choked. Mia can't handle this kind of stress right now. She's fragile. I almost laughed. Oh, now I'm strong. That's funny coming from the woman who called me selfish for not paying your mortgage while you threw me and my daughter out. Her crying deepened. We made mistakes. No, I cut in. You made choices. Now you're living with them. When I hung up, my hands were shaking, but not from guilt, from relief. For the first time, I'd ended a conversation on my terms. Over the following weeks, word spread. The foreclosure became official. The house, the same one my parents had bragged about for years, the one Mia had claimed as her own, was gone. Neighbors whispered when they saw the sheriff's notice nailed to the door. The curtains, once pristine, now hung limp and yellowed. The yard, once my father's pride, was overgrown and wild. It was almost poetic, the house decaying in step with their lies. Mia's rage hit next. She sent a text that began, "You think you've won," and spiraled into a paragraph of venom about betrayal, abandonment, and karma. At the end, she wrote, "You ruined my pregnancy, my marriage, my life. I hope you're happy." I read it once and deleted it. Then I took Lily to the park. We ate ice cream and watched the sunset. The contrast between our laughter and the storm brewing in their world couldn't have been clearer. A week later, my father left a voicemail, his voice small and defeated this time. "We had to move out," he said. "Your mother's been crying every night. Mia and the baby are staying with us for now. I don't know how much longer we can manage." I didn't reply. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I opened an old box from the closet: photos, birthday cards, school awards. In one picture, Mia and I were little girls sitting side by side, our mother behind us, smiling proudly at her two perfect daughters. I stared at that photo until my vision blurred. Then I tore it cleanly in half. Not out of hate, but to finally separate the version of family I'd always clung to from the truth I was living now. The truth was simple. Sometimes you have to lose everything fake to build something real. 2 months passed before I heard from them again. By then, the house had been sold at auction. The bank had taken everything furniture, appliances, even the old piano that used to sit in the living room where Mia once practiced her perfect recitals while I did her chores. Lily and I had settled into a new rhythm. I'd found a better job at a small design firm, the pay steady, the people kind. Our tiny apartment smelled like lavender and sugar most mornings thanks to the bakery downstairs. We were finally building a life that belonged only to us. Then one evening, as I was helping Lily with her homework, my phone rang. Mom flashed on the screen. I hesitated before answering. Amanda, my mother's voice came through, trembling almost unrecognizable. Please, can you come over? We need to talk. Come over where I asked. You lost the house. We're renting a small apartment on Ridgeway Street. It's not much, but it's home for now, she said quickly. Please, sweetheart, just come. Against every instinct, I agreed. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe a part of me still hoped they'd finally say the words I'd needed to hear all my life, I'm sorry. When I arrived, the place took my breath away. Not because it was nice, but because it was so far from what they once had. The walls were stained and cracked, mismatched furniture cluttered the corners, and the air smelled faintly of mildew. My once proud parents looked small. My dad sat slumped on a threadbare couch, his hair grayer, his eyes dull. Mia sat in the corner, rocking her baby while scrolling through her phone, her expression a mix of bitterness and exhaustion. Thanks for coming, my mom said, twisting her hands. We didn't know who else to call. I stayed standing. What do you want? My dad cleared his throat. We need help, Amanda. We've fallen behind on rent. The bills are piling up. Your mother's working part-time at the pharmacy, but it's not enough. I crossed my arms. And what does this have to do with me? You're doing well now, my mom said softly. You have a steady job. You and Lily are comfortable. We just need some help until we get back on our feet. I stared at her. You mean the same help you refused me when you threw me out with my daughter? Her lips trembled. We didn't handle things right. That's an understatement, I interrupted. You humiliated me, Mom. You let Mia take everything, and when I said it wasn't fair, you sided with her. And now you're asking for help. Mia suddenly spoke, her tone sharp and venomous. You're acting like you're some saint, Amanda. You're the reason we lost the house. You could have kept paying if you wanted. You just wanted revenge. I turned slowly to face her. You're right. I did want revenge. And I got it. Her mouth fell open, but I didn't stop. You thought you could kick me out and still live off me. You thought I'd keep paying the mortgage while you raised your baby in my room. You underestimated me, Mia. Again. Amanda, my mom said, her voice cracking. Please, this isn't helping anyone. We made mistakes, but we're family. Family, I repeated quietly. Where was family when I stood outside with my 5-year-old in the rain, holding her toys in a trash bag? The room went silent, except for the faint creak of the baby's cradle. Mia's face flushed red, and she snapped. You've always been dramatic. You think you're better than us now. No, I said softly. I just finally know my worth. My dad leaned forward, his voice trembling. Please, Amanda, whatever anger you have, let it go. We're older now. We can't do this alone. Then maybe you should have thought about that before burning every bridge you had. For a moment, no one spoke. My mother's eyes filled with tears and her shoulders shook. We've lost everything, she whispered. The house, our savings, our pride. Please don't let us lose you too. That almost broke me. Almost. But then I remembered the image of Lily sitting on that porch, clutching her stuffed bunny while our things were dumped beside her. The sound of Mia's laughter echoing through the door. The look in my father's eyes when he told me, you'll figure it out. I already have, I said. My mother reached out, grabbing my wrist. Amanda, please. We just need a little help. Think of your sister's baby. I pulled my hand free. Mia's baby isn't my responsibility. Neither are your bills. Her tears fell freely now. Sweetheart, we're begging you. So was I said. And you didn't care. I turned toward the door. My father tried one last time. You'll regret this, he said quietly. I looked back over my shoulder. Maybe. But at least I'll regret it in peace. As I stepped out, Mia's voice rose behind me. You're heartless, she screamed. And then something I'd never heard before, my mother's voice, sharp and breaking. Enough, Mia. The door slammed. I walked down the hall, my heartbeat steady. For the first time, their chaos didn't follow me. When I got home, Lily was drawing at the table. She looked up and smiled. Did Grandma say sorry? I hesitated. Not yet, I said, but maybe one day. She nodded satisfied and went back to her crayons. I watched her draw two stick figures, me and her, holding hands under a bright yellow sun. And for once that picture felt true. Weeks passed, and the silence from Ridgeway Street grew louder. No more phone calls, no more guilt-laced messages, no more late-night crying voicemails. For the first time in my life, my phone stayed quiet, and that silence was beautiful. Sometimes I wondered how they were doing. Curiosity, not concern. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard fragments of their downfall. My parents had moved into an even smaller place after falling behind on rent, selling whatever they could to stay afloat. The dining set, the jewelry, even my mother's beloved china cabinet gone. And Mia, she'd finally hit rock bottom. After another round of arguments with my parents, she'd left their cramped apartment and moved into a women's shelter with her baby. I heard she was still blaming me, still spinning her stories to anyone who'd listen. But for once, I didn't care. I wasn't part of her story anymore. Meanwhile, Lily and I were thriving. Our apartment, once bare and quiet, now pulsed with warmth and laughter. The walls were covered in her drawings, colorful suns, stick figures with big smiles, and glittery stars that caught the light whenever the window was open. On weekends, we'd bake cookies, watch cartoons, and dance around the living room until our sides hurt from laughing. Every now and then, Lily would glance up at me mid-dance and giggle, "You're smiling again, Mommy." I'd smile wider. That's because I finally can. I'd never realized how much peace weighed, until I no longer had to carry everyone else's expectations. For years, my life had been an endless cycle of pleasing people who only took and never gave back. Now my world was small, but it was mine. One Saturday morning, I found myself sitting by the window with a cup of coffee sunlight spilling across the floor. Lily was still asleep, her small hand resting on her favorite stuffed bunny. Outside, the city moved in its usual rhythm: horns, laughter, the smell of bread from the bakery downstairs. It was ordinary, simple, perfect. My phone buzzed once, a new voicemail. The number wasn't saved, but I recognized it instantly. My mother. I stared at the notification for a long time, my finger hovering over the screen. For a moment, I considered listening. Maybe she wanted to apologize, maybe she didn't. But then I remembered every sleepless night, every tear Lily had wiped from my cheek when I tried to stay strong. I deleted it without pressing play. That single motion, one tap, felt like cutting the last string tying me to a life that had only ever drained me. A few days later, Lily and I went to the park. She was learning to ride her bike, her training wheels wobbling as she pedaled down the path. I jogged beside her, laughing when she shouted, "Look, Mommy, I'm doing it!" "You are," I said, breathless but proud. "Keep going." When she finally stopped, she turned to me. Cheeks flushed pink. "Mommy, can we go home now?" Home. The word hit me differently this time. It wasn't the house I'd grown up in, or the one I'd helped pay for. It wasn't the idea of family I'd spent years chasing. It was this sunlight, laughter, freedom, and peace. That night, as I tucked her into bed, Lily asked softly, "Do you think Grandma and Aunt Mia are still mad?" I brushed a curl from her forehead. Maybe I said honestly, but sometimes people stay mad when they don't understand their own mistakes. She yawned. "Do we have to see them again?" "Not unless we want to," I whispered. "We get to choose who's in our family now." She smiled sleepily. "Then it's just us." "Just us," I agreed, kissing her forehead. When she drifted off, I stood by her door for a long moment, watching her chest rise and fall in the soft glow of her nightlight. All my life, I'd believed love meant forgiveness, endurance, self-sacrifice. But I'd learned that love also means walking away when staying destroys you. I looked around at the walls covered in Lily's art, the ones she'd filled with stars and hearts and smiling suns, and felt something swell inside me. It wasn't pride or revenge, it was peace. I walked to the window, opened it slightly, and let the night air wash over me. Below, the bakery lights flickered off one by one. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed, then faded into quiet. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. The chaos was gone. The guilt was gone. The noise was gone. Just me, just Lily, just life. And as I turned off the light and whispered goodnight to the city, I realized something simple, something final. They had lost a house, but I had found a home.